Ladies and gentlemen, I believe you didn't come here by accident today. I believe this moment was divinely orchestrated. You could be anywhere else doing anything else, but you're here, and that tells me something. You're ready for more. You're ready to rise higher, to break free from the past, to stop settling, and to start living the life God created you for. You see, we don't get to rewind time. We can't go back and relive yesterday, but we can make a decision today not to waste another moment, not to let fear, regret, or distraction steal our destiny. God didn't put you on this earth to just get by, to just go through the motions. No, He put greatness inside of you. He gave you a purpose, a calling, a reason to wake up every morning with fire in your spirit. So today I want to speak directly to your heart because it's time to wake up your potential. It's time to stop wasting your life and start living it with purpose, with passion, and with power. You were created on purpose for a purpose. That means your life is not random, not an accident, and definitely not without meaning. Long before anyone else had an opinion about you, God had a plan for you. Before you were ever formed in your mother's womb, He had already written your destiny. You were fearfully and wonderfully made, not to live a life of mediocrity, not to just survive day to day, but to fulfill a divine purpose that no one else can carry out like you can. You may look at your circumstances right now and think, there's no way God could use me. I've made too many mistakes. I've wasted too much time. I don't have the education, the background, the connections. But here's the truth. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And you are called, you are chosen, you are appointed for such a time as this. Everything you've been through, every setback, every heartbreak, every disappointment, it's all part of the preparation. It's shaping you, strengthening you, positioning you for the purpose God has placed inside you. The enemy would love nothing more than for you to go through life distracted, discouraged, and doubtful. He wants you to believe that your life doesn't matter, that your choices don't make a difference, that your dreams are too far gone. But that's a lie. You weren't put here just to exist, to coast through your days without impact or intention. There is something in you the world needs. There's a gift inside you, a voice, an idea, a vision, something that only you can bring to life. You see, too many people spend their whole lives trying to become someone else, chasing approval, fitting in, following the crowd. But the power is not in imitation, it's in authenticity. God didn't create you to be a copy. He created you to be an original. Your personality, your experiences, your struggles, your strengths, they're all part of the unique design that makes you who you are. Stop trying to be like someone else and start embracing who God created you to be. When you understand that you were created on purpose, you stop wasting your life trying to earn your worth. You already have it. You don't have to perform for it, beg for it, or hustle to gain it. God already sees you as valuable, as worthy, as enough. And when you truly believe that, you stop settling. You stop living beneath your calling. You stop wasting time in places that don't align with your purpose. You weren't made to just get through the week, to live for the weekend, to count down the days until retirement. That's not purpose, that's survival. And God didn't create you to survive. He created you to thrive. He created you to make a difference, to shine light in dark places, to lift others, to leave a legacy. There is a reason you wake up every day. There is a reason you have breath in your lungs. That's because your purpose is still alive. It's not too late. You haven't missed your moment. As long as you're breathing, your purpose is still possible. When you live with that awareness, when you wake up each day knowing you were created for something greater, you stop allowing little things to distract you. You stop wasting time with people who drain your energy. You stop compromising who you are just to be accepted. You start living with clarity, with passion, with a fire in your soul. You start making choices that honor your calling. You begin to value your time, your talents, your life. You begin to walk with confidence, not because you have it all figured out, but because you know who you belong to and why you're here. Stop giving your energy to things that don't grow you. Every day you wake up, you're given a limited supply of energy, focus, and attention. It's like a currency, and how you spend it determines what kind of life you'll build. Too often, people waste that precious energy on things that have no return, arguments that lead nowhere, worrying about what others think, chasing approval, staying in environments that drain them instead of develop them. If you want to fulfill your God-given purpose, you have to be intentional with your energy. You can't afford to keep pouring yourself into things that leave you empty. Some people spend their days offended over what someone said, holding on to grudges, replaying past conversations that can't be changed. That mental space, those thoughts and emotions, could be used to fuel your goals, to develop your gifts, to walk in peace. But instead, it's being burned up by things that don't serve your growth. You weren't created to be bitter, resentful, or distracted. You were created to be powerful, focused, and full of purpose. Okay. But you can't move forward if your energy is constantly being hijacked by things that are beneath your destiny. You have to start protecting your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not every situation requires your reaction. Some things you simply need to let go, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know your peace is worth more. Growth requires discipline. It requires saying no to comfort, no to drama, no to distractions, and yes to what actually builds you. That means choosing to spend time with people who uplift you. Choosing to feed your mind with things that expand you. Choosing to spend your energy in ways that align with your purpose. There will always be opportunities to waste energy. Someone will always try to pull you into conflict. Life will always present you with chances to be offended, discouraged, or distracted. But you have the power to choose where your focus goes. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every opinion thrown at you. You don't have to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. So you think that that's energy you could use to build something meaningful, to invest in your calling, to strengthen your relationship with God, to grow into the version of yourself you were created to become. Growth isn't passive. It doesn't happen by accident. It requires effort, and effort requires energy. If your energy is constantly being poured into people who don't support you, habits that hold you back, or environments that keep you small, you're going to feel stuck. Not because you don't have purpose, but because you've allowed your energy to be spent in places that don't produce fruit. You can't plant seeds of greatness in soil that's filled with toxicity. You have to step away from what drains you so you can grow in what develops you. Start asking yourself, does this conversation help me grow? Does this habit support the future I'm building? Does this relationship feed my soul or deplete my spirit? When you start measuring your energy investments like this, your life begins to shift. You gain clarity. You attract better opportunities. You start seeing progress, not because everything around you changed, but because you changed where you placed your energy. And that's when growth becomes consistent, when you stop fighting battles that don't matter and start fighting for the future that does. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not every problem is yours to solve. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remain calm, walk away, and refocus. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it's spiritual. Because when your energy is whole, your vision is clear. And when your vision is clear, you begin to walk boldly toward the life you were created for. Let go of what's behind so you can reach what's ahead. One of the greatest traps that keeps people from living in their purpose is the inability to release the past. You cannot drive forward while staring in the rearview mirror. Yet many people carry the weight of old mistakes, past relationships, missed opportunities, and failures that they replay over and over in their minds. Holding on to what's behind doesn't just slow you down, it keeps you stuck. And you can't step into your future if your heart and mind are still entangled in yesterday. God doesn't live in your past. He's not replaying your mistakes. He's not focused on who you used to be. He's calling you forward. But to answer that call, you have to release what's been holding you. Sometimes it's not the situation itself that has power. It's your attachment to it. It's the story you keep telling yourself about what happened, about who hurt you, about what you lost. Letting go doesn't mean you forget. It means you stop allowing your past to define your identity or limit your direction. There's a reason the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror, because where you're going is so much more important than where you've been. What God has ahead of you is greater than anything behind you, but as long as you're clinging to what's gone, you won't have the strength to grab hold of what's coming. You can't carry old pain, old mindsets, and old habits into a new season. That baggage has to be left behind if you want to move freely. Sometimes the hardest thing to release isn't something bad. It's something that once was good. Maybe it's a dream that didn't unfold the way you planned. Maybe it's a relationship that once brought joy but has since run its course. Maybe it's a version of yourself you outgrew. Growth often requires grief, because to reach higher, you have to let go of what felt familiar. And that's not easy. But the price of holding on to what no longer serves you is the sacrifice of everything that could. God can't bring you into the new if you're still anchored to the old. He wants to do a fresh thing in your life, but your hands have to be open to receive it. That means releasing the resentment, releasing the guilt, releasing the fear. It means forgiving those who hurt you, not for their sake, but for your freedom. It means forgiving yourself, not because you didn't make mistakes, but because you're not meant to live in shame. You are not your failures. You are not your past decisions. You are not the pain you experienced. You are who God says you are, and He says you are redeemed, restored, and called to something greater. When you carry the past into the present, it clouds your vision for the future. It makes you question your worth. It makes you hesitant to try again. It builds walls around your heart and fear around your dreams. But once you release what's behind, something powerful happens. You start to see clearly. You start to believe again. You start to move with confidence, not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer carrying the weight of yesterday into today. There is so much ahead of you: blessings, opportunities, relationships, growth, peace, purpose. But you'll only see it when you stop looking backward. Life moves forward. Time moves forward, God moves forward, and so must you. What's behind you was never meant to be your permanent place. It was a chapter, not the whole story. You have more to write, more to live, more to experience, but the pen is in your hands now. Don't waste it writing the same old sentence of regret. Release it so you can make space for something new. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start with what you have right now. Too many people delay their purpose, their goals, their growth, because they're waiting for the right time. They say, I'll start when I have more money. I'll change when things settle down. I'll move forward when I feel ready. But the truth is, there's never going to be a perfect moment. Life is rarely ideal. Circumstances will always have challenges, so subject yourself. But progress doesn't wait for perfection. Growth begins when you take the first step, not when everything is comfortable and certain. Some of the most successful and fulfilled people didn't wait for ideal conditions. They acted with what they had. They started small. They moved forward with fear still in their chest. They built as they went. If you wait for everything to line up, you might be waiting forever. The dream in your heart, the calling on your life, the change you desire, it doesn't require you to be perfect. It just requires you to begin. And often it's in the process of doing that you gain the clarity, strength, and direction you thought you needed first. God never calls the most equipped. He equips the ones who answer the call. That means you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to feel qualified. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need the faith to start. Start with what you have. Start where you are. Start with your brokenness, your questions, your small resources, your trembling hands. God can breathe on your effort. He can multiply what's in your hand, but He can't bless what you refuse to begin. Perfection is a lie that paralyzes progress. If you keep waiting until you're no longer scared, you'll never move. If you keep waiting until you have the full plan, you'll miss the season you were meant to grow in. Start messy. Start unsure. Start without applause, but start. Every giant leap begins with a first small step. And those steps, even if they seem insignificant at first, create momentum. Momentum builds movement, and movement changes everything. Every excuse you have is just a fear disguised as logic. I don't have time often means I'm afraid to fail. I'm not ready usually means I don't feel good enough. But here's the truth, no one ever feels 100% ready. Everyone starts somewhere, and what you have right now is more than enough to begin. You might have a little time, a little knowledge, a little experience, but that's enough. God specializes in using little things to create big outcomes. What matters is not the size of your starting point, but the size of your commitment to keep going. Don't despise small beginnings. Don't overlook your current season because it doesn't look glamorous. The process is where your character is built. The grind is where your discipline is formed. The consistency, the resilience, the quiet steps you take every day, those are what create the foundation for greatness. The people who make it aren't always the most talented. They're the most consistent. They show up even when it's hard. They do what they can with what they have, and they trust that more will come. Stop scrolling through other people's lives thinking they had it easier. Everyone has their own battles. Everyone had to start. You see the success, but you didn't see the struggle. You see the result, but you didn't see the risk. Don't let comparison rob you of your own beginning. Your journey is yours. And what you start today may seem small, but years from now you'll look back and thank yourself for having the courage to begin when it wasn't perfect. You'll realize that waiting would have cost you far more than starting ever did. Now, the people you surround yourself with will either fuel your purpose or drain your potential. Who you spend time with is not just a social choice. It's a spiritual and emotional investment. You become like the people you consistently allow into your space. Their mindset rubs off on you. Their habits influence your own. Their words shape the way you think, the way you talk, the way you dream. If you want to live a life of purpose, of growth, of divine direction, you have to evaluate your circle with honesty and courage. Too often we hold on to relationships out of history, not destiny. Just because someone has been in your life for years doesn't mean they're meant to stay in the next chapter. Some people are assignments, not lifetime companions. They were placed in your path for a season to teach you something, to sharpen you, to challenge you, or even to push you to grow by how they treated you. But not everyone is meant to go. Separation requires separation. You cannot fly high if you're weighed down by people who don't want to leave the ground. You have to ask yourself, do the people around me inspire me or drain me? Do they challenge me to be better or keep me stuck in old patterns? Do they speak faith or feed fear? Do they encourage my dreams or mock them behind a smile? The truth is, energy is contagious. If you're around people who constantly complain, gossip, doubt, or settle, you will slowly find yourself lowering your standards to fit in. But when you're around people of vision, faith, discipline, and positivity, it pulls you higher without even realizing it. God will sometimes remove people from your life, not to hurt you, but to protect you. When you pray for growth, He might prune your circle. When you ask for clarity, He might reveal someone's true character. It can be painful, but it's necessary. Some people don't cheer for you when you grow because your elevation exposes their stagnation. Some people liked you better when you were insecure, quiet, unsure of yourself because it made them feel bigger. But once you start walking in confidence and pursuing purpose, you'll notice who starts distancing themselves or who starts trying to pull you back down. You have to be intentional with your relationships. Find people who push you closer to God. Find people who don't just tolerate your ambition, but celebrate it. Look for friends who correct you when you're wrong, not out of judgment, but out of love. Seek mentors who have walked the path you're aiming for and who carry wisdom with humility. And most importantly, be that kind of person for others. Be the one who lifts others with your words, who walks in integrity, who inspires others by how you live, not just by what you say. The enemy loves to use relationships as distractions. One wrong connection can cost you years. One toxic friendship can drain your focus, your faith, your identity. That's why it's so important to discern who belongs in your inner circle. It's not about being arrogant or cutting people off with bitterness. It's about protecting the mission God has placed on your life. You only get one life, one opportunity to make the impact you were born to make. You can't afford to waste it entertaining drama, negativity, or people who don't value growth. Growth changes your appetite. What once satisfied you no longer feels fulfilling. The conversations that used to entertain you now feel empty. The environments you once craved now feel uncomfortable. That's not a loss. It's progress. It's a sign that your spirit is maturing. Don't apologize for outgrowing people who refuse to grow. Don't shrink yourself to stay connected to someone who's committed to staying stuck. Love them, bless them, pray for them, but don't let them hold you back. There's a destiny on your life, a calling that's too big for small thinking, a future that's too important to be surrounded by people who aren't serious about theirs. So choose your circle wisely. Choose people who sharpen your mind, stretch your faith, and speak life into your dreams. Your environment will either be your garden or your grave. The people around you are either building with you or tearing you down quietly with death. You deserve to be around those who remind you of your potential, not your past. You need voices that call out your greatness, not ones that keep you comfortable in mediocrity. Every day you wake up is a chance to make your life count. Time is the most valuable resource you have, and unlike money or possessions, you can never get it back once it's spent. You don't get to rewind the clock or relive yesterday, so how you choose to use your time today matters more than you realize. Yet many people live on autopilot, just going through the motions, wasting their precious hours on things that don't truly matter. They scroll endlessly, procrastinate their goals, invest energy in drama, and pour their hearts into people who don't value them. They treat life like there will always be more time, not realizing that every wasted day becomes a wasted life over time. You can't keep putting off the life you know you're meant to live. You can't keep saying, I'll start tomorrow, or one day I'll change, because those days never come unless you make a decision. The people who live with purpose, with passion, with results, they're not lucky or special. They just made a choice to stop wasting time and start taking control. They don't wait for motivation. They don't wait for the calendar to change. They understand that every moment is either moving them closer to their destiny or further away from it. You were not created just to survive, to exist, to float through life. You were created to live fully, to grow, to impact, to rise above mediocrity. But that will never happen as long as you're comfortable wasting time. Wasting time is not always about being lazy. Sometimes it's about being distracted. You might be busy but not productive. You might be working but not progressing. There's a difference between movement and purpose. You can be running in circles and getting nowhere. That's why you have to pause and ask yourself, what am I really doing with my life? Am I making my time count, or just passing it? Every distraction is a decision. Every delay is a direction. And every day you put off your purpose is a day you empower your excuses. You have dreams in your heart for a reason. You have goals that stir your soul because they are meant to be pursued. But if you keep wasting your days, numbing your mind with distractions, chasing approval from people who don't even care, or staying stuck in fear of failure, you're robbing yourself of the life you were born to live. You're trading potential for comfort. You're giving away power in exchange for pleasure. And eventually, you'll look back and realize you didn't run out of time. You just didn't use it. People often say life is short. But the truth is, life is long if you live it with purpose and intention. Life feels short only when you waste years doing things that don't fulfill you. Time passes quickly when it's filled with things that drain you instead of build you. That's why you must be intentional. Be intentional with your mornings. Be intentional with your relationships. Be intentional with your words, your actions, your habits. Because the quality of your life is not determined by chance. It's shaped by your choices. What you do consistently becomes your legacy. What you focus on daily becomes your future. If you want to stop wasting your life, you have to stop wasting your time. Set clear goals. Cut out distractions. Say no to what doesn't align with your values. Surround yourself with people who are serious about growth. Spend more time building your character than curating your image. Choose depth over noise, progress over popularity, discipline over comfort. Use your time to heal, to grow, to serve, to build. Read more. Pray more, reflect more, move in silence and let your results speak. Stop entertaining things that don't align with your calling. Not everything deserves your energy. Not everyone deserves your access. There is a fire in you waiting to be lit, a strength in you waiting to be activated, a purpose in you waiting to be fulfilled. But none of that happens automatically. It requires you to value your time as much as your future depends on it, because it does. The way you live your days becomes the way you live your life. So live them with intention. Live them with clarity. Live them like they matter, because they do. There's no rewind button. There's no do-overs. This is your life right here, right now. And what you choose to do with it is shaping everything that comes